I'm live. I'm not going to be having too much to say for a few seconds here while I figure some things out. Uh, okay. There we go. We got it. It's probably going to be a little noisy. There we go. We got it. I got a fan going over here to keep me cool. There we go. It won't be as hot as I was last week. How's everybody doing out there? Okay, we got to do that's crazy. How's everybody doing out there? Turn that down. How's that work? I can't hear myself now, so but you shouldn't hear the feedback. You shouldn't hear like 5 people talking, saying the same thing, just off by a few seconds. So, oh no, I was thinking last night. I was soaking, night before last, actually, I guess. I was soaking in the tub in Epsom salts, which I do, and it helps the old achy bones a little bit, achy muscles. But I was thinking, it's something I've not thought a lot about because, it's just something you can't do anything about. And I was thinking about some of the people I'd like to have back in my life that I'd like to talk to. And there was 3 that came to mind just real quick. And the first one didn't surprise me because that's my dad. And he's always been my go-to for whatever. If I needed to know something, he probably knew it. I mean, he just knew things. And another one, the next one that I thought of was my Uncle Ralph. Now, Ralph, I didn't spend a lot of time around him. Didn't spend a lot of time talking to him, and I wish I had. He was extremely intelligent, but he chose to put that intelligence to work working on things. I mean, he was an excellent mechanic. But I think and I don't know for sure, and that's one of them things, I wish I did know. I think he might have had a decent formal education. And like I said, he's just really intelligent on things, especially mechanical stuff. I don't know, some of you may or may not remember a few years ago in the 80s and 90s, this whole rebuilder thing. Everybody was into rebuilding cars that have been wrecked. And, I mean, some people, made business out of it. And he was doing it before that was the thing to do. I mean, go buy an old wrecked car for next to nothing. Cut the parts out, go to the salvage yard, tell them where to cut it. I'm talking big body panels. And, I thought, he's one I'd like to talk to, and I wish I had talked to him more. But I don't know. He passed away when I was 23, 24 years old, something like that. Dad and I bought a bunch of his old tools from my aunt, which my aunt was who I was related to by blood, and he was married to her, which doesn't matter. But I just wish I had talked to him more. Of course, like I said, my dad, I just wish he was here to talk to again. And the third one was my Uncle John. Actually, Ralph was my mom's sister's husband. He was on that side of the family. But Uncle John was married to my dad's sister, Amy. And not formally educated, could barely read and write. So, uh, but he was quite the character. He was just fun to be around. But he prepared me for working around a lot of the people that I ended up working with. And he's the one that taught me that I need to pay attention. A lot of people think this is mean, but I was 5, 6, 7 years old. I'm not very old. And I was at their house, and he had swept the floor up, and he had given me the dustpan and said, hold this and hold it down there when I tell you. And, you know, my attention span was short. It's not very long now, but it's a little better. But anyways, I was standing there waiting. I didn't go anywhere. I thought I was paying attention. But evidently I'd gotten my head, and I heard him say something, and I kind of looked up, and about that time I got a little tap right in the front of my head. He said, I told you to put that down there. Oh, okay. I mean, it didn't hurt. It startled me. But he just kind of tapped me with that broom handle. And that kind of taught me to pay attention. So, but he wasn't a mean person. He just believed that when you were supposed to do it, you do it. You pay attention to what you're doing, and you do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. So, yeah, I would love to be able to talk to those 3 men again. And when my Uncle John helped us out a lot. I mean, it's showing up and helping us do stuff. He was somewhat disabled. I mean, he could still do a lot, but he couldn't put in a long day's work. He hurt his back. He'd been wounded in World War II. So, yeah. Anybody else out there got people like that they would like to be able to spend time with again? Like I said, I don't usually think about this because I can't make it happen, so I just don't usually think about it. But that crossed my mind the other night. And like I said, my Uncle John was a big part of my life, as long as I can remember, until he passed away. I was, I don't know, 26, 27, somewhere in there when he passed away. And he would come over, he took in, okay, he was married to my dad's sister. My dad had another sister that was kind of wild, and he took in all of her kids and raised them in a 2-bedroom house with no hot water tank and 1 bathroom. Plus, he had my grandfather living there and my dad's great aunt. So there was like 8 kids, 9 kids, and 4 adults, 2 of which were elderly. My great aunt lived to be 90. And, you know, it's one of them things I wish I had talked with her more. She was blind, and she would sit and read those Braille books. And that's one I wish I had talked to more. But, you know, when you're a kid, you don't pay any attention to that stuff. So, yeah, I don't, like I said, I don't, maybe it's because I'm getting older. You know, a week ago today I turned 61, and maybe that's got something to do with it, I don't know. But anyway, sorry, I got distracted with something on my computer. Do you sit around and think about people that you would like to be able to have conversations with again? Like I said, I usually try to live in the present with some thought towards the future, like retirement, that kind of stuff. Hey, Charlene, good to see you here. Um, I don't know. That's just what was on my mind. So I'm doing pretty good. I mean, we got some cool weather today. I don't think it got but got above 83, 84 degrees. So it's nice. I tried to get out, get my little Kubota fixed, and it's just one thing after another with that little thing. And it's not that there's anything major. It's just I got to take this off to get to that. Well, I can't take that off because I don't have the right tools, and I've been chasing tools, and I still don't have what I need off. It's probably too much information, but there's an inch and 13/16 nut holding the harmonic balancer and a pulley on. And I had one at my dad's, so I went down and got a socket, a big socket set, and it wasn't deep enough. So last night I ordered a wrench, $40-some wrench. Well, it won't work. So a little while ago I ordered a deep well socket. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. Yeah, like I said earlier, it was in the lower 80s here today. It was nice out. It was cloudy all day. We had a north wind. For August 1st, it was extremely nice. Like the number one farmhand said, it was kind of felt like fall around here. Our lows were in the 60s. I mean, it was pretty nice. So, yeah, I'm loving this cool weather. It's not going to stay around, though. I was watching Ryan Hall on YouTube this morning talking about the extended forecast, and it sounds nasty. Yep, I'll take the 60s all day, every day. I like it. If it's up to me, the temperature would never get above 75 and never below 35. I like it to get cool once in a while, but I don't like the cold. Didn't used to bother me. When I was a teenager, like coon hunted, it'd be 20 degrees out, and I'd have a pair of canvas tennis shoes and jeans and a quilted flannel jacket over a flannel shirt, and I didn't get cold. We waded the creeks chasing them coon dogs. That it just never bothered me. Now it hurts, and I don't like it. But if it did stay in the 60s and 70s, I'd be happy. All right, thanks for stopping in. I really appreciate it. Enjoy your dinner. So, anyway, trying to get back into doing lives again here. I did one last Saturday. Today I'm getting a late start. I never even advertised we was going to do, or I was going to do a live. But I just figured, what the heck, maybe somebody will pop in, and Charlene did. I appreciate that. One of my top fans. I appreciate it. She's definitely a subscriber. And actually, I got to say hi to her last night, too, on Simply Jan's live. I don't get to participate in many other lives anymore because live broadcast, I don't know, live stream, that's what they call them, a live stream. But I don't get to do many anymore because I work nights now. Not right now. It's summertime. School's out, so we're cleaning inside the school. And so when school's in, I'm just not around where I can sit down and participate in a live. I kind of enjoy it. I'm going to try to, and I don't know if they're always going to be on Saturday nights like this. There's a lot of competition out there on Saturday nights, Sunday night. There's a lot of competition anyway, so that's why I've been doing them about this time. Just, if somebody's got time to stop, or if they would rather go to somebody else's, that's fine too. But yeah, I think while I'm sitting here and ain't many people on here, I'm gonna fire up a pipe. Talked about my pipe smoking last week. And I'm gonna smoke this one. This is becoming my go-to. It's called a poker. That's the style of it. Is that angled? You set it down on a table, and your stem doesn't touch the table. Kind of like that. My customized lighter. I don't know if you can see. You definitely can't see it with me shaking it around. But anyway, I enjoy smoking a pipe. Do this, gotta do it so I don't waste a lot of tobacco. Stuff's a little pricey. Some people say it's a bad habit, which I'm trying for it not to become a habit. Oh, I forgot to get my tamper. This is my custom made tamper that I made for myself. It's a 44 special gel with a dowel rod sanded down to fit in it. Nothing special, but it does the job. But anyway, I said I've taken this back up just because I wanted to. And there are some health benefits to nicotine, not so much smoking of it, and I do believe smoking a pipe or a cigar is slightly healthier than cigarettes. So, but anyway, I enjoy it, and you don't like it, you don't have to do it. And, that's what I feel about other things that other people do that I don't care for myself. So, it takes a little work. It can get really expensive. Dang. There's some expensive pipes out there. This one's $20 pipe. I mean, like I said, at first I looked at it, I thought it looked a little silly, but it looks kind of hillbilly, so it kind of fits me. So yeah, about dropping the lighter. Got too much going on there. Forgot to not inhale. You don't need to inhale with a pipe or a cigar. I got to remember to take a couple puffs and set it down. If it goes out, it goes out. I like making smoke though. I'm a little kid at heart. Uh, so, yeah. I'm going to sit here and talk to y'all maybe another 40 minutes and enjoy this pipe. And hopefully somebody else will jump in here. Number one farmhand is maturing. And there's something on that brings something to mind. He's autistic. He's high functioning autistic. He's one of the last ones that the government allowed to be diagnosed as having Asperger's syndrome. A few months after he got his diagnosis, it was autism or not. And there was no Asperger's syndrome, which Asperger's syndrome is just a high functioning form of autism. It mainly affects your social abilities and stuff like that. So, and it seems that maybe they mature a little slower. And I'm pretty sure my oldest stepson also has Asperger's. He got a later diagnosis than Ethan did. But he was, I think, 13 or 14 before they finally got his diagnosis right. They were treating him for ADHD, and something else. And they was giving him medication for it, which, as I've studied so I can help them, to maybe figure out how to deal with this, I was like, wait a minute, this describes my life and how I've acted. And then, as I get deeper and deeper into just paying attention to things, I guess you could call it studying. I kind of think that I have autism and ADHD. See, and I was always confused about ADHD. I thought it was just hyperactivity, but there's a whole lot more to it than that. Because I remember as a kid, we got crazy hair. My dad always said he could tell me 2 things and I'd forget 3. So I forget things easy, simple things. And as I've gotten older and I've studied Asperger's and ADHD, I figured out that, and I never knew why, because my intelligence is pretty normal, I think. I look at things different than other people. I knew that, but I'm finding out now as I'm older and I've lived some life and I got something to look at in my own life, that it wasn't that I wasn't thinking, it was that I was thinking too much. There's always stuff going on in my head. To do this live and stay focused on what I'm doing is kind of hard for me. And I've gotten to the point where I cannot watch television. I've either got to be reading something or playing on my phone while a movie's on. And I know what's going on all of it. You know, I got a pretty good idea of what's happening in the movie and what's happening, whatever I'm reading or what I'm looking at. So that was a good smoke. Well, like I said, I'm just about to change topics on y'all, but I need to get back on it. Uh, so, and Ethan, the number one farmhand, and I have talked a lot about this stuff because, I don't like small talk. Hey, how you doing? What do you think about the weather? Blah, blah, blah. Don't care about that. I don't care about sports. I used to follow NASCAR, and I really got into it and understood a lot about it, and I don't follow that anymore, even that. Of course, I had favorite drivers, and, my favorite driver died. Of course, it's the most popular driver ever, probably, Dale Earnhardt. And maybe I was a bandwagoner on that, I don't know. But once I got involved in watching that. But anyway, Asperger's. See, this is how my mind works. It just, one thing right after another, just bang, 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 bang. And so, I've never had any interest in the more common stick and ball sports. I mean, I played football and basketball in middle school. I wasn't a star. I wasn't even a starter on the B team, because I just wasn't interested. I didn't try very hard because it was just something to do. Back then, athletics were 2 hours of classroom time. So that's why I took it. Hey, 2 hours to go play games, which, basically is what football, basketball, whatever, that's what all it is. Now, wrestling, it's a sport, but, it's a little different. But I never really got into wrestling. I wasn't much rolling around on a mat with other guys, so take that for what you will. But that's what I see with autism. And like I said, I've studied on it a little bit. Not an expert, Not the next Temple Grandin or anything like that. And I highly recommend that movie about her. It's a pretty good movie. Really interesting. So, yeah. Autism can make it. You're already, with autism, you're already socially awkward. The high functioning autism, schoolwork is just, for me and for Ethan, it was just boring. Okay, I got it, let's move on. Plus, they didn't, I love history, and they didn't, what they taught and what I wanted to know were not the same thing, so I wasn't interested. I know a lot of what they tried to teach us is stuff that we probably should know, the Monroe Doctrine and I don't know what else, the causes of World War II. But I wasn't interested in that stuff. I particularly was interested in what they call the Old West period, from about, oh, right after the Civil War up through the early 1900s. You know, to me that was fascinating. Of course, I grew up watching John Wayne movies. Like him or not, that's your business, not mine, but I enjoy a good John Wayne movie. Also like Clint Eastwood. And also recently have discovered Randolph Scott and Audie Murphy. Audie Murphy is a very good story. So is Sergeant York. They're similar stories. So, yeah. And recently, well, Ethan wasn't going to graduate high school on time. I did not graduate high school on time. I went back another year. But I don't think Ethan would have done it because it bored him too much. But there was a program where a high school student can basically test out. And I wish we'd have known it sooner for him. We'd have got started and it wouldn't have been, by the skin of his teeth. But everybody knew he was intelligent, okay? All the teachers, the principal, it was my first year working up there at the high school as a janitor. And it wasn't his first test. I think he took math first, and he passed it pretty good. But then he took his science test. And they emailed the results to Ethan and to the high school principal. And the high school principal caught me in the hallway as I was coming into work. And she was like, "You're not going to believe this." Well, maybe you are. I mean, because we all know he's that intelligent, but he scored in the top 95th percentile in science. And the counselors brought the email. She had printed it out. They were so excited about it. And showed it to me. And she said, "We don't even teach this kind of science right here." And that was the part he scored the highest on. So the boy's intelligent, just getting him to focus it. And that's me as well. I think he's smarter than me, but I just got to get him to apply it. With me, in my mid-20s, it actually started before that, but in my mid-20s, I really got caught up in drinking a lot, going to the bars, and, there was a time I drove dump truck for an asphalt company, and would go to the bar as soon as I got done working, stay there drinking till closing time, go home, sleep 4 or 5 hours, get up, and go get in the dump truck and be sick, hungover, which is dangerous. Don't do that, children. Use me as a bad example. And long about 10 o'clock, started like at 7 in the morning, and about 10 o'clock in the morning, be stopped beside the road, puking my guts up, and then I was good the rest of the day. And I would show up for work and I'd kind of pray that they would put me out shoveling asphalt, because then I would sweat all that out. But anyway, don't do that, kids. Stay away from that stuff. Once I finally decided to leave it alone, everything in my life got better. Finally found me a good woman. We've been together 21 years now. Actually, a little more than that if you count dating and everything. She probably got it marked out. I think she's keeping track, kind of like a prisoner. But anyway, so yeah, I'm trying to push him into doing something where he doesn't go through life doing menial jobs. They're important jobs. Being a janitor is important. People need, the school needs clean. Driving a school bus is important. Those kids got to get from home to school safely and back to school safely. I think school bus drivers are one of the most underappreciated jobs in this country. They talk about how much impact, a good teacher can impact a kid for the rest of their lives. A good bus driver has the lives of multiple children in his hands every day. And out on the roads, have you ever drove out in the real world out there with people running around, don't know how to drive, not paying attention? I'm glad I live in a small rural school district where we're mostly on dirt roads. We don't have much problems, but I got a friend that drives bus for Carl Junction. And I had posted on Facebook that day, or one day, that I had somebody run my stop sign. And he come, oh, I hate that. And this is like not quite halfway through the school year, November, December, somewhere in there. He said, I've already had 19 people run my stop sign. Think about that, 19 people on one bus route weren't paying attention enough to not see a big yellow bus with flashing lights all over the place and a stop sign hanging off the side of it. They either didn't see it or decided to ignore it. And I don't know which one's worse. Honestly, I think willfully running a stop sign is worse than not paying attention. But they're both bad. I mean, it's not much worse. Because, if you willfully run one, you made a decision that you're going to take a chance on hitting a kid crossing in front of the bus. Now, I know in my district, they try to get us to run our routes where the kids don't have to cross in front of the bus at all, which is a good thing if you can do it, but you can't do it all the time. Sometimes they have to cross in front of the bus. Last year, I had to double up a route. Had to do my route and somebody else's. Now, there's a kid on that other route that I don't like to. I think most kids are good, but I'm not sure that this one is a good kid. Most kids are just kids. They don't think before they do stuff. But I'm not so sure about this one. But anyway, he doesn't ride my normal route. And I had to get on to him 2 or 3 times, and he was mad at me, which I don't care. I mean, I've got a job to do, and that job is to get all of these kids home safely. Well, the way I had to run the route was different than the guy, because I still had my kids. I dumped part of my kids off, and then I come down, ran his route, and then had to go up and get the rest of my kids, because that was the most efficient way to do it. And anyway, I stopped, and this kid just lives down the road from me. But I stopped and let him off, him and his two brothers. He was just, as he walked around in front of the bus, he just giving me the evil eye, and I just laughed, which, made it even madder, which made it even funnier for me. So, I thought it was funny, so the next time I saw that driver, I told him about it. I said, yeah, this kid said, I told him that story. He said, and the only thing he got out of it was, oh, well, I don't let them cross the front of the bus. I usually go up, pick these kids up, turn around, and come back. I said, well, yes, I understand that, but I had to keep going north, and I had to go about another 5 miles north to get the last of my kids off. Oh, I hadn't thought about that, which, that happens. People are like that. They only think about their part of things. But anyway, I kind of enjoy the bus driving more than I do the janitor work. But I can do the janitor work until I'm ready to retire, I think, which I'm actually ready right now, but I just don't think it's the government says I'm not old enough. I don't know. And I see somebody else is on here. Say hi. I'm just sitting here rambling. You got something you want to know? Make a comment or just say hi. I'm trying to sit here and enjoy this pipe without smoking it too much and giving myself a headache and making myself nauseated. I'm trying to just enjoy it. I got some, see that, this new tobacco I'm smoking. It's pretty mild. I got it because it was cigar tobacco and not pipe tobacco. Still think there's a big difference between the two, but anyway, I wanted to try it. It's okay. It's a little bland. I've had better pipe tobacco, but it'll do. I'm going to try something. I had a great uncle that lived with us that smoked a pipe, and on my last live, I think I told the story, but he smoked Prince Albert in a can, and I watched a video talking about codger smoking, and I didn't realize what was going on at the time, but you're not supposed to just sit and puff on these all the time and make a bunch of big smoke. Supposed to just enjoy it. I like making big smoke. I'm a little kid. I might be 61 years old, but sometimes my brain's only like 12, if that. But anyway, like I said, he smoked Prince Albert in a can, and so I think I'm going to try to hunt some of that up and try it. And that's all he smoked. People would buy him other stuff, and he wouldn't smoke it. He wouldn't be rude about it, but he just oh, thank you, and put it up, and it just stayed put up. Same with pipes. He had his favorite pipe, and that's all he smoked. Which I think I mentioned that in the last live too. But anyway, thought it went out, but it hasn't. So, I don't know, you got anything on your mind? I talked earlier about Uh, the three men I would like to be able to talk to again. My dad and an uncle from each side of the family. I don't usually think about that kind of stuff. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or what, but I just don't. I don't think about the past a whole lot because it's past. I can't bring it back, and I can't bring those three men back. My dad and uncles. I just a couple of friends I'd like to bring back too. Had a lot of fun with them. My friend Tony. I had two friends named Tony, but one was my neighbor. This one, and as far as I know, my neighbor's still alive. I don't know. I think he's still alive, but my other friend Tony died young. He was only like 23. And I think he just died because he was always an active person. I mean, he was athletic. He didn't do sports. He was just that kind of guy that's got that athletic build that's, always in good shape. And well, he had a brain tumor. And they took it off. And he was paralyzed on one side afterwards, and he couldn't talk very well. So I see my feed is buffering. So I don't know what's going on there. So there I'm back over there, but I'm behind. It says I'm live, but it's not showing me. But anyway, there was that. I'd kind of like to have Tony back to talk to. He's a lot of fun. Maybe someday we'll all meet again. I mean, I don't know what all that's like. Actually, it kind of scares me, so I don't talk about it much. Don't try not to think about it. So, well, I've been rambling for 50 minutes here. I'd like to thank Charlene Grady for stopping in. And she had to go eat supper. Which I don't blame her. I'm going to do that in a little bit, maybe. I don't know. Smoking this pipe kind of takes some of my appetite away, which is a good thing. I could use to lose a pound or two. And if you go watch any of my other videos, you'll know what I'm talking about. So, I don't know. I started talking about the number one farmhand maturing and his autism and that sort of thing. And today, now he told me a couple of weeks ago he was going to do it. It got really hot, and, he just decided not to do it. But he went out there this morning. This morning he got up and asked me, he said, well, what's your plan for today? Because we usually do stuff. We've been working on tractors and, different things. You never know. There's always something to do on a farm, even one as small as ours. And I said, well, I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Because I was waiting on a tool I had ordered to work on this Kubota with, which ended up being the wrong one. I told that story earlier. And I said, well, might be a good day to build that pig pen. He said, okay. And he went and done it. Of course, he got mad at the pigs because they pulled the water hose, or one pen of pigs, because they pulled the water hose in their pen, and chewed a hole in it. So I went out to help him find out what he's mad about. He's been hollering and carrying on. I could tell he's mad, so I went over to check it out, so he needed any help. He didn't need any help. And then he started working on the pianos. You want my help? Nope. Nope. Okay. So I left him alone, let him build it. So he was telling me he had 3 more posts to drive, and then it'd be ready to put pigs in. So, you know, he's starting to do things because they need to be done, not because he's told. Which I take as a sign of maturing. Which is better than his brothers did, because they all moved out. They both, well, his brothers and sister, they all moved out because they didn't want to help do anything. Which, they were over 18, that was their right. I'm not going to go into that. They're doing okay. They're living their lives, and that's all I can ask for. So like I told Rhonda as we were raising them all, what do we do? What do we do? I said, the only thing we can do is teach them right from wrong and turn them loose on the world. And hope that some of what we taught them stuck. Well, the 2 boys both hold down jobs. The younger of the 2 boys, Ryan, has a wife and a kid. You know, he's holding down a job, owns a piece, you know, buying his house. So, you know, maybe something stuck. And he lives in a suburb of Savannah, Georgia. The other one's not quite that ambitious. He's got a job. He's a dishwasher at a truck stop. But, you know, he seems to be happy, so. And, you know, both of them are in their early 30s now, so they're on their own. All I can ask for them is that they're happy. The girl, she's in her later 20s now, and I think she's still trying to figure herself out. And, you know, so it is what it is. As far as I know, no drug or alcohol problems, so no unexpected pregnancies, you know. She's had the same boyfriend for a long time now. They cohabitate, which that's what I'm doing, so I can't say anything about that. But now Ethan, he's about to be 21, and I pay him to do stuff here, and he does it. So I think he's probably going to be getting a job here before long. Don't worry about it, because like I said, we got a small farm here. We got pigs, chickens, goats, cows, and during the week, while I'm gone working and Rhonda's working, he takes care of a lot of stuff. He takes care of the pigs every day. They get out, he puts them back in, and make sure they got feed, water, all that. I mean, you know, he's taking care of stuff. So there is stuff he has to do to pay his way around here, you know, but I just recently turned all the yard mowing over to him and paid him a lot less than it's worth, but that's the price he quoted me. So plus we buy groceries and stuff like that, so it works out for us. And someday he'll figure out what he wants to do, and he'll take off and do it. I mean, I'm not just looking at my life. I've had somewhere around 40 jobs and started working for a paycheck at 13. So I still haven't figured out what I want to do. Well, I think I have. I think I want to be retired and not worry about all this. But I'm trying to teach him that you don't have to have a job to make a good living. There's other ways to make a living without having a job where you're dependent on somebody else for your paycheck. But you're always dependent on somebody else, don't get me wrong. But there's lots of things you can do to make a good living where you don't have to punch a time clock. You know, you have a lot more flexibility. And I wish I'd have known not only about those things, which I did. I've had a few mentors along the way that I didn't pay enough attention to get where I needed to go. Like I said, I got into alcohol pretty bad for a while, and I didn't do what I should have been doing to put myself in a good situation, which I'm not in a bad situation now. You know, I got 2 pension plans. Neither one of them are going to pay me very much, but I figure with that and Social Security and whatever I can do in this little shop, puttering around, making stuff, I'll probably be all right for a while. But I see somebody else has popped on, say hi. I don't bite. Well, they're gone. You know, well, I've been on here for about 58 minutes. Unless somebody pops on here in the next couple of minutes, I'm probably going to cut this off and set the shop down, go in the house, and relax. Try not to get frustrated about not having what tools I need when I need them. Make a little smoke here. Yeah, I guess that's about all I've got tonight. You know, if you're watching the replay on this, give me a thumbs up, you know. Or not, I guess. I don't know. You do what you want. You do you. Just I can seem like I'm a bit preachy every once in a while, but bottom line for me is do your own thing. If you're happy, don't worry about my opinion. I'm just an old fat pig farmer. I'm struggling through life just like everybody else. And it's taken me most of my life to figure out a lot of the people that you see that look like they got their shit together, they don't. I mean, not much on gossip, I'm not going to say any names, but as I've now been in the school district for, well, starting my 4th year as a janitor, and I was a substitute driver for a year or so before that. So about 5 years of being involved with the school district, and I'm learning about people. I mean, and most people ain't got their shit together any better than anybody else. I mean, everybody does dumb shit, and everybody else has problems, and they're just different. I mean, the only one I can think of that may not have problems, and I bet he does too, he just don't talk about them, would be Warren Buffett. But, you know, I mean, Elon Musk, I think, is a trillionaire. He has $1 trillion worth of assets. Or he's worth $1 trillion. I mean, he's got problems. So, anyway, with that, I'm going to get off of here. As soon as I figure out how to shut this down, and remember, let's look out for each other. Let's help each other when we can, and don't forget to pray. I mean, and I'm not going to tell you who you got to pray to. Just, you know. So, we'll catch you all later. I'll figure out how to shut this off. I always struggle with this. Da, 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 huh. Okay, I bet that's it. Right there. Boop. And